So Man with the Golden Gun, the Golden Shot panel, we have here Eileen Roberts, Graham Hartstone, Brian Smithies and Terry Bamber. Thank you all very much for coming along. And if I may start with you first, Eileen.
Okay.
So you started on Live and Let Die. How did the call come about for Man with the Golden Gun?
Right. I had worked for Ian Productions on Live and Let Die, standing in a dubbing for James Seymour. And I got a call out of blue from the production office. I don't know what year that was, but I was 27. So work out the maths from that. And it was the second assistant director to the first assistant director, Derek Cracknell, to Guy Hamilton, who eventually spoke to me, and he said, Eileen, we'd like you to come out on location on this production of Man with the Golden Gun, pre-production, as a utility stand-in. I hadn't any idea what a utility stand-in would be, but as the word suggests, you stand in for various artists of height, tint, or gender. So I said, okay, Derek, that sounds quite good. He said, you're now married to the assistant cameraman that was on the film, on Live and Let Die. So we'll give you a charter flight out, and you can do all the locations for as many actors as you can. But the snag is that you won't get paid, but you'll do every location. You'll do Hong Kong, Bangkok, Phuket, all of them, and you'll stay in the Oriental Hotel. You'll have wonderful locations at a great time, but because of the local situation, we have to cover our backs with local employment. So that's the deal. I said, okay, that's fine. So I went out. I'm just slightly confused the first location, maybe Hong Kong. And they, by the way, I felt very comfortable going back to family because Guy Hamilton, I'd worked with on Live and Let Die, the wonderful DOP photographer, Ted Moore. Yeah, Ted Moore, wonderful Ted Moore. And he had a few years back won the Oscar for Mad Four Seasons, one of my favourite films. And I felt at home. Derek Cracknell, first AD. So out I go, and they set up, they all do what they have to do. And on my first day shoot, I was produced with a box. A box. You'd know this well, Terry, wouldn't you? Yeah. And they said, now, for knick-knack, you will kneel on the box. And for good night, you will stand on the box. So that was my whole location, really, apart from maybe the little Thai dance girls and what have you. I worked well, perfectly for them. So I was either on my knees on the box or standing on the box throughout the locations. Except for in the, now this would be Bangkok, in the boxing stadium, when Maud Adams gets shot. So I was sitting down for her, just for camera angles. It was all rehearsals, for the rehearsals. So that was the one time I didn't really use the box. So that was the start of me working on the film.
Excellent. And were you able to take any props? Take? Really?
You're getting me into trouble.
No.
Choir.
Given, can anyone hear me without the mic?
Yes.
Yeah. Given, I was given various props as I didn't have a fee. Terry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. As I didn't have a fee as such, I was given. Now, I'm not doing a scaramanga. Don't get excited. 50 years old, that. Is it a fountain pen? Is it cufflinks? Is it a cigarette case? The gun, the golden gun, was made by a gunsmith in Macau. And there were several, these were stand-ins. But I was given that. And some nice pieces of jade. And I stayed at the Oriental Hotel, for God's sake. I didn't need to Benidorm before that. You know, I mean, this was absolutely unbelievable for me. Eating on a floating restaurant in Hong Kong. And that was where the casino scene was. I stand to be corrected. Yeah, the casino scene. Yeah, and just wonderful. So I was very well looked after and some lovely presents.
Also,
Not given.
I think what is very important, you're being very modest about your role. The work is a work of a stand-in is vital in any production.
Yes.
Because they have to watch the scene being filmed,
Yes.
they have to watch the actor they're standing in for and replicate exactly those moods so that the DOP and the camera can be set up while the artist goes back to get ready and make up. It's a vital
Thank you,
job.
Terry.
Honestly.
May I be even less modest and say that I was known from Live and Let Die that I had that background, you know, although I wasn't sick, but I knew I had confidence.
Yeah.
So if they had to do something silly or knick-knack carrying a little tray, I wasn't on the box carrying the tray, and I was like this. But I had the confidence to do it, you know. I've lost all that now, I'm shaking like a leaf.
And after all those locations, did you actually shoot anything at Pinewood? The glamorous.
Well, again, I think the belly dancer was at Pinewood.
Yes.
I think it was one of the last
Yes,
scenes.
because
one of the
I-
last scenes to be
Come with your territory, yeah.
I had said to Derek Cracknell, could I please double for the belly of the belly dancer? And I said, because I know Roger Moore is going to come and take that bullet. So he said, Eileen, we could give her a break, but your husband's filming. He said, so I don't think it would work very well. So I didn't get to double her belly. But thanks for that little comment, Terry. That's lovely.
Well, thank you very much, Eileen.
Thank you.
It's not working. Hello? No. Thank you very much, Eileen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll add one to yourself, Graham. A little bit of a preamble here. So 17 Bond films, around a dozen carry-ons, Aliens, Hellraiser, Superman, Who Dares Wins, Thelma Louise, continues. However, Man with the Golden Gun, any particular issues when working on this?
No, that was the second film I think I was in the post-production of. I was one of the team of three mixers, the chief mixer who handles the dialogue and the music, and two other mixers who handle the sound effects. Those days we filmed we made mono prints, I'm afraid, so the biggest problem was trying to balance loud sound effects in a chase, cars and sirens and tire squeals. To try and balance that with music was very, very difficult with just mono. Nowadays, of course, you've got the full Dolby Atmos. You've got lots of speakers you can play it in. It's a lot easier. So what we did in those days, it was quite common to start a chase, say, with just sound effects only, and make the very best of it, making it as exciting as we could with just the sound effects. And then at a certain point where the action changes, either the Bond gets the upper hand or he gets into more danger, that's the point we emphasise by bringing in the music. And that you'll find that on a lot of the earlier Bond films and action films that we did, we played the sound effects for quite a long time as long as we could, so that the music would have more impact when it comes in.
And you were telling me a little story before about the Swanee whistle.
The dreaded swan. We all hated that. I think one of the sound editors put it in as a joke, and I can remember there were lots of arguments about whether it should be in, whether it should be out. I guess the fact that it's in must mean that Guy Hamilton decided in the end but I don't think it was good. Other than maybe people are still talking about it, so there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Sure, exactly. Yeah, sure. Also, for the Bond films you worked on, it's a big family production, being Cubby Broccoli, but you also worked on Frenzy.
Frenzy, yeah, that was, I was, at that time I was still on the production side. I didn't spend long on Frenzy, but I was on the set particularly for that first shot where they track back from the girl dead and track back through the house, the set opens, so now the camera goes through, and then it closes, and then we go down the stairs, out of the front door. There's one black frame where we change to a man walking past with a sack of vegetables on his shoulder, and then there were a Chapman crane when we back away, up and higher across Covent Garden. Yeah, it was great to see Hitchcock in action.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Graham. Now we've gone to yourself now, Brian. Thank you, Graham.
Yep.
So, Brian, another massive background in films, including the TV series Thunderbirds, the Thunderbird film. Even did the Womble film as well, from Night Simpson's Wombling 3. So on to the Man with the Golden Gun. Were there any particular issues that you faced with this production?
Not really. I mean, it was fairly straightforward. I was working with. Is it coming through?
It's not working, is it?
It is turned on, but it's not. You need to try and
Okay.
just push the button up on the.
No, there were no particular issues. I mean, it was fairly straightforward. I built the islands, and I was working at the time with Derek Meddings on a film called Land Time Forgot over at Cheverton. And they'd started shooting out at some quarry somewhere, so Derek sent me about a month ahead to build the models for Man with the Golden Gun. And of course, he loaded me up with all the stuff they didn't need, which included guns, all sorts of explosives, a whole variety of special effects stuff. And he sent me over to Pinewood to start on Man with the Golden Gun. So I took the shortcut, which was around the end of London Airport. And at that time, there was a scare for a missile being fired at an aircraft taking off from London Airport. And so they had closed off the side road, and I didn't realize that until I got halfway along it. And I suddenly found myself surrounded by tanks, soldiers, and everything else. And to cut a long story short, they were stopping every car in front of me and getting the guys out, the drivers, frisking them, looking in the boot, and lifting the engine bonnet in the compartments of the car. And I thought, well, this is it. I've got guns, I've got grenades. And so they took one look in the window, and I was dressed like sort of jeans and a bit like a beatnik and long hair and a beard. And they just waved me through. And I don't know what. They stopped the car behind me, which was a businessman, suit and everything else, very respectable looking. And I looked in the mirror, and there he was out being frisked and going through his car. So anyway, I eventually got to Pinewood, and I was given photographs of the islands in Phuket, I think it was. And so I started sort of by getting the height and width of the whole scene they wanted. And then I built a clay model of the island, which was then cast in plaster, and then had the carpenters saw it into slabs at a regular interval. Then we enlarged that onto the floor and squared it up to make frames to build the island from. And so I had a couple of carpenters and a couple of plasterers. And between us, we managed to build the island ready for shooting after, it was about three or 4 weeks. Amazing, quick job done by the brilliant plasterers and carpenters at Pinewood. Construction crew, always underrated. And then we also had to build the aerial that came out. And, I did that up in the workshop. And we also, because John Steers had said he could blow up all the storage containers for the solar collector. He could blow all those up and make it look real. And he did. And it, I think, probably dislodged the roof of D stage. So they had to get structural engineers in to check it out before any more filming could happen. So we had to build a model of that. And a lot of that we had a lot of the original footage that John Steers did. But then that was followed up with the model. And that was a model which wasn't expected. And the airplane, that was something that was John Steers had looked after. And I think it was probably a ducted fan type engine rather than a jet engine. They didn't have jet engines in those days on that scale. And that was really about all the problems we had. I suppose weather was the other one, because we were down in the paddock tank with the island. We had a painted backing, which was on the big backing, which is now gone. And I think weather was the biggest hold-up we had.
Do you think you were glad you didn't have to build a model for the car stunt?
For the
Car stunt, car jump.
Oh, the car jump. No.
And they did it for real. Obviously.
Yes, they did that for real, and that was worked out by stuntmen in America who specialised in that type of thing. And the actual curvature and reception at the other side was calculated, I believe, on a computer, which no doubt in those days was the size of this room.
Yeah.
And it had to go at a particular speed. I forget what it was, 47 miles an hour or something. But one of the problems they had was that the cameras were all set to shoot at normal speed. Well, of course, when that happens, you can't really see what's happening. It's such a short distance and so fast. It went whoomp like that and it was gone. So they had to double print it. And eventually it was remastered, I believe, with digital, which is great. I mean, something that we never had that advantage of in those days. I mean, digital now and CGI is a brilliant additional tool, but I don't think it's a replacement. It shouldn't be a replacement because
it neatly leads on to my last question for you. Is in modern day films, models they still need to be built, don't they? In certain sense.
Yes. Well,
then add on CGI in the end.
Yeah, if you need it, and hopefully you don't need it. But one of the problems with CGI is that they normally hold depth of focus from the tip of your nose to the distance. If you use your own eyes, I mean, you're out of focus. If I'm looking out of that window, you're out of focus. Or if I'm looking at you, then that's all out of focus. And it brings you a relationship to the scene you're looking at. And this, I think, is quite important. But most of the CGI people seem to have grown up with a twitchy thumb on a little screen like that. And this is carried over. And because you can do it, they do it. And that's another big mistake. We used to do stuff that was needed for the story. It's storytelling. After all, film is that's also one of the, film is one of the art forms of the 20th century.
Exactly. Excellent. Thank you very much, Brian.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm very, very upset that we're not showing the clip of the car doing it, because it's the most underrated stunt in the whole of film, and it's a brilliant stunt. Yeah. You sit up with that silly the penny whistle, whatever it undermines it so much. It's a brilliant. So we're not going to see it.
No, we can probably get a clip for it later on.
Yeah.
If you asked me 3 days ago, I might have that.
Yeah.
But you had all the Moonraker stuff. Right.
Terry, so when we Golden Gun, this was your first time.
Yes, I'll be very quick. I know, very
We
quick.
know about your Roger Moore.
Well, no, don't tell everybody. I've got to tell everybody. But I remember when we the flying car going past Derek's workshop all out there, and that being at Pinewood. Very quickly, I just finished my A levels. My dad, I think, was working at Pinewood on one of our dinosaurs was missing in one of those films.
Yeah.
He said, "Right, come on, I'm taking you to Pinewood. We're going to get you a job." And this is where the whole thing with industry is so much luck. So I came in with Dad, and he took me down the main corridor to Claude Hudson's office, who was the production manager on The Man with a Golden Gun. And as luck would have it, Melvin Lind, who had been the unit runner, had just got his unit card to become a third AD. So he was leaving, and they needed a unit runner to start on the following Monday. And I got the job. I mean, just so that's how lucky I've been. Mind you, I only ever get employed once usually. I'd never get. But I was so excited on the. And funny enough, I ended up staying in this hotel because in those days it was called the Furs Hotel, and it was not a very good hotel, I must be honest. But it was great. It meant I didn't have to have a 1 hour journey to get home. So my first day on the Monday, I was so excited. And G. McAllister was the production secretary, as they were called in those days, and explained to me that Roger liked to have a chicken sandwich on brown bread in his dressing room at the end of the day, so he could relax and eat it after a day's filming. So I went and queued at the restaurant, got the sandwich, and in those days, obviously there wasn't cling film. It was just a little white tissue paper they put on top of it. So I remember walking all the way from the restaurant, crossing the road into the star dressing room, knocking on the door, and I think it must have been one of Derek's assistants opened the door, and Roger was back against the window, and I just looked at him, and somehow the plate dropped from my hand. The white thing fluffered away that way, and the sandwich landed face down on the floor. And there was a horrible moment, and Roger said, "I'm supposed to be watching my figure, don't worry." He was always that, but I was never asked to get another sandwich for
Even tea or coffee.
It was, I mean, a dream come true. Dad had worked on the early Bonds as part of Pinewood's crew in the dressing props department, and never dreamed that I'd ever get the chance to work on them. But for me, we've talked about it, we've seen it, the music is such an important part of the Bond films. And the unit drivers used to drive the reels up to John Barry in his apartment on the Thames for him to work on the moviola. And they said, "Well, why don't you take it up and you'll get a chance to meet John Barry?" So one day, David Roll went up there, and again, I was 18, you just get so nervous when you're meeting heroes and that. And again, I knocked on the door. Luckily, I didn't drop the film, but I just said, "This is for you, Mr. Barry," threw it at him and ran away. And that was the only thing I said to him. I don't think he even had a chance to say thank you. But the contribution that he made to the series is unbelievable. But Derek Cracknell, what a wonderful assistant director he was. Terry Churcher was the second assistant director. Again, very, very nice people. And
As they said about you, Terry,
Yeah.
you were well loved.
I had to pay him a lot of money though. But no, that's other than that, the great thing of being a runner, of course, is you get to meet everybody.
Sure.
You know, I remember going onto the set and getting the continuity notes from Elaine Shriek, was the script supervisor. Wonderful, wonderful. And I think Elaine's still with us. Yeah.
I don't,
No.
I don't quite think so.
She's still around.
Yeah.
Oh my word.
Wonderful lady. Yeah.
Brilliant.
And Derek Meadows, of course.
Sure, of course.
Derek was always getting me in trouble because I was so in awe of what he did. And in fact, after we finished The Man with the Golden Gun, I was doing a Disney film there, and Ron Miller, there was head of Disney, but I got talking to Derek about all the work he does. And Penny Pendrick, who was the production secretary to Hugh Atwell, ended up having to make tea and coffee for Ron Miller and 15 other head Disney people because I was not where I should have been. So I didn't work for a penny again after that either. But The Man with the Golden Gun, what do you think of The Man with the Golden Gun? I think it's a good film. I think, again, it's another underrated
So
film.
do I.
There's some great
Yeah, I
sequences
think
in
the
it.
same, yeah.
And I love that we had the little lad,
Sayan.
yeah,
Yes.
bloody tourists.
Sure.
No. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now.
Well, thank you very much, Terry. And that's the end of our panel. Eileen, Graham, and Brad.